everybody, Sensei Sloth here. Today I'm recording the first tutorial video that I promised I would start making. Sorry about the delay, just some things got in the way, but, I actually have time to sit down and record this now, so, yep, we're going to be talking about the basics of Heroes of the Storm today. So here's a brief outline of what I'm going to cover, some of the basics, like what is the game, the map layout, and then some of the core things like heroes, structures, and some of the enemies you're going to face within the Nexus. And then I'm also going to briefly talk about the objective and watchtowers. So you might be asking, what is Heroes of the Storm? Well, if you have no idea what it is, it's it's a MOBA, which is obviously on the screen, similar to League of Legends, Dota, Heroes of New Earth, which is is that game still alive? Anyways, so pretty much, it's a 5-on-5, and each player controls a hero, and pretty much the objective is to destroy the enemy's core. And there's plenty of ways to do this, but that's the only way you can win. It doesn't matter if you kill them 50 times and they don't kill you at all. If they somehow kill your core, then sorry, you lose. That's kind of how the game works. So this is a picture of a typical map setup. Now, there's different maps in this game, so they might vary. Like, some maps have 2 lanes, others have 3. But the structure is generally the same. There's going to be, if you see like the things that look like rooks from chess on the screen, those are pretty much major structures that you're going to encounter, and then the crown is the core. And we'll talk about all the other things in a second. So the first structure you'll encounter is a fort. They look different based on map to map, but they generally carry these things. So to start off from the right, you'll see 2 turrets, which will occasionally they will shoot at anything within their range whenever an enemy moves into the range. And you can't really see their exact range, but as you play the game more, you'll get a feel for it. In between them is a gate, and that is something that allies can move through, but enemies cannot. You have to kill it. And above and below the towers are additional walls, which could also be killed, but the distinguishing factor between those walls and the gate is that minions will run through the gate, whereas they won't run through walls. So if you want to push with mercenaries or something, it's more profitable to take down the gate instead of the walls. As for the inner structure, more to the left, you'll see something with looks like it has water in it. That's a health fountain. So basically, allies can run up to that and use it once every 2 minutes. And what that does is, over time, it'll rapidly restore their health and mana. So it's really nice to use that instead of having to go all the way back to base. It saves you a lot of time, and it's definitely efficient. Also, there is another tower in the back that is just an extra tower to defend the base. And the thing in the bottom left that you see is the fort itself, which has more health than a turret, but also does more damage. Its attacks will also slow the attack and movement speed of its target. So, on the turrets to the right, the blue health bars signify, the health. And then below that, you'll see dots, some yellow, some blank, and that is the ammo of this structure. In this game, structures have ammunition, and if they run out, they have to wait to get more. So, if a turret's not shooting, it's because it's out of ammo. Next up with a similar structure is a keep. It has the same thing, 2 turrets, a gate, an extra defense turret, and a health pool. But the main difference between keeps and forts is, 1, keeps are harder to kill, they have higher health, do more damage, and that stuff. But also, once you kill a keep, super minions, or catapults, depending on the map, they will also push in that lane, which we'll talk about later. So as you see here, this is the core. This is what you have to kill to actually win the game. You'll notice how it says protected. The core can't be damaged unless you take a keep. You need to get at least 1 keep to be able to damage the core. There are exceptions on 2 specific maps as of right now, but that'll be something I'll talk about in map-specific guides. So the next topic is heroes. So here, a hero is what, actual players play as. There's going to be a lot of other units running around the map attacking each other and stuff, but heroes are what actual human players control. The rest is just AI. So heroes have abilities. Each hero has a trait, which you see on the right. They have 3 basic abilities, which are their Q, W, and E. And then they have 2 heroics to select from. Heroics, are ultimate abilities. They're generally more powerful than other abilities. You don't get them until later in the game, and you're offered a choice between 2. Sometimes one is strictly better than the other. Other times, you could be situational and choose which one fits the situation best. Also, on the bottom left, you see an ability called Hearthstone, and that pretty much is like recalling in League, or you just sit there and channel for 8 seconds, and if you take any damage, you stop. You just have to sit there in a safe location, and it teleports you directly back to your base, restoring some health and mana. But the important part is you're teleported to safety. No one can hurt you on your altar. The other thing you see on the bottom right is Summon Mount, and that is an ability not every hero has. Some heroes have an alternative thing to that, but for the most part, I'd say maybe, I think 80% is a low ball, but it's pretty safe to say at least 80% of the heroes will have the Summon Mount ability, and you will be able to see in game if there's a different thing by hovering over that area. So, level is one of the most important factors of this game. You start at level 1 and the max is 30, but games usually never go that long. So levels dictate your character's power, as it says on the slide. It determines when you will get your talents, which we'll talk about later. But the one important thing to note about this game is that experience is shared amongst your entire team. So as you can see on the picture, it pretty much is a good way to show what gives experience. Killing heroes, killing mercenaries, killing minions, and killing structures are 4 ways you can proactively gain experience. You also gain a small amount of experience passively. Talents are upgrades to your abilities. And you pretty much, as you can see on the picture on the right, the levels that you get your talents are shown there, starting from 1 up to 20. You get your heroic abilities at level 10, which is a very crucial level, because you get an entirely new ability which will make your character a lot stronger. And then 20 is also another special talent tree, because you can either upgrade your heroic ability, or you could just get some other ability that is also very strong. So it's always good to fight the enemy when you at least have even talents with them. If you're behind in talents, then a good thing to do is just try to get some experience and catch up with them. So talents could be a lot of things. Some talents could upgrade your base stats, like, your character has 10% more health now, something like that. You can get new ability functionality, like if you look at the top one, it says reduces hungering arrow mana cost and increases non-hero damage. You could hover over that to get exact specifics of what those boosts are, but the description there just kind of gives you an idea of what the talent does. Also, you can get entirely new abilities, such as the one shown below, Shrink Ray. That's a talent that a lot of supports have, and once you get it, it would show up on, you could configure which key it's on, but the default is the numbers going from left to right. So if Shrink Ray was your first new ability you took, it would be on the 1 key. And pretty much they're just active abilities, just like your basic abilities. They have a cooldown, they do something, and yeah, there's a variety of them in the game, and yeah, you'll see. So a special kind of talent that I wanted to talk about separately are quests. They are they are kind of a talent that you pick and then you get a reward later, but the rewards are usually stronger than the other options. So the example here is Caltrops, and some quests have an initial benefit, others don't. So this one has an initial benefit of dropping 3 things on the ground when you dash, which is character specific, but you could read that they do a little damage, slow a little bit, but it doesn't really seem too impressive. So the impressive part is the reward at the bottom. The quest thing shows you what you have to do, and then the reward is what you get for doing that. So the reward here is pretty much making this character's escape ability or chase ability have half cooldown, which is pretty good. But you don't get an initial benefit until you complete the quest. So if you take a while to do it, then you're weaker than you would be otherwise. So next we're going to talk about the types of enemies that you may encounter. So minions are the most basic thing. They are going to spawn in each lane and just push down mindlessly. They will go until they die. They don't give a shit. And you could kill them to get experience. You don't have to land the final blow. You just have to be near them when they die. But it's usually beneficial to kill them as fast as possible so you can go do something else. Mercenaries they'll be scattered around the map, usually with yellow icons. They'll just sit there and chill. They'll only fight back if you attack them. Why would you attack them then? Well, they grant experience, but more than that, once you kill them, there will be a yellow circle that appears with like a bar. And once you stand on that, the bar will quickly fill, and then they will start pushing a lane for you. So, you might wonder, why would I bother doing this? Why not just kill the minions in the wave? Well, it's really good to kill them before an objective spawns, so that way they'll go push a lane hard, and the enemy either has to, lose part of their base, or send someone to go kill them. It's kind of like, I have to go kill these mercenaries if the enemy has them. Also, killing them proactively will grant you experience. So there's 3 main types. There's some other types in different maps, but most of the time you'll encounter these 3. The one on the left are called bruisers. There's 4 of them. They're kind of hard to kill, but they're also usually up front and close ranged. The ones on the right are called sieges. They move slower, they attack slower, but they're very long ranged. So if you leave them push a lane by themselves, they will kill a lot of stuff before dying. The one in the middle is the boss. It is very hard to kill. It could do a lot of damage, and it's generally you usually need at least like 3 people to kill the boss. There are some heroes that could solo it, but they would take a while. And the problem with fighting the boss randomly is that the enemy team could fight. They could ambush you. That's the word. They could ambush you while you're doing the boss, and then you're effectively trying to fight the boss and the enemy team at the same time. And that can be very disadvantageous depending on the situation. Monsters are map-specific enemies. So, some maps have monsters. Most do, to some extent. But it's pretty much any AI-controlled enemy that's not a minion or mercenary. That's the best description I could give. So in this picture, the big-ass angel that everyone's attacking, that's the monster for that map, Battlefield of Eternity. And it's just not classified as a minion or mercenary. It's just its own category. And there's a reason for that, just because some talents involve boosting damage to mercenaries and stuff, and we don't want to boost it would just be very, very powerful if you would also buff monsters on the map. The last kind of enemy is the hero, other players. When you're playing a game like this, you're going to encounter other players, and they're the same as you. They have 3 basic abilities, a trait, which may or may not be active. They might have their own additional abilities, and they'll have a heroic ability once they hit level 10. And, I can't really explain to you every hero's abilities right now, because there's a lot. But by playing the game and watching any future guides I make about heroes, you'll slowly, over time, accumulate the knowledge of what every hero can do, and that way you could play against them optimally. So as for objectives are map-specific events that will usually net you an advantage if you complete them before your opponent. They vary greatly differing by map. So the one picture I showed you of the angel on Battlefield of Eternity, pretty much there's a big angel and a big demon, and each team has to kill the other one while defending their own. And if you succeed, then that angel or demon will attack the enemy's base for you, which gives you a significant advantage because you have a big-ass angel or demon pushing for you and the other team doesn't. And, plenty more on different maps, but that's the most basic definition I can give you without getting into map specifics. The last thing I want to talk about are watchtowers. It's not as big as some of the other things, but they could be important. So they're pretty much neutral spaces that once you stand on them, you see the progress bar. It's kind of similar to mercenaries. The progress bar, once you fill it up, it will be controlled by you. So on the left, you see a watchtower that is uncontrolled, and it doesn't grant vision. But when you see the one on the right, it's fully blue. That means you control it, and you get vision around it, which is really important in a game like this because then you could set up ambushes and stuff, and you could see where the enemy is if they're in that location. And if the bar is fully red, then that means the enemy controls it, and you'll see a circle in the game showing the range of it, so that way, if you walk into the enemy watchtower range, you know if you're being seen or not. And yeah, they're not permanent. You could always capture it at any time, but you just have to be careful because sometimes you might be walking into a trap. So I think that's the basics for the game. I'll be making future tutorials on how specific map mechanics work and, how specific heroes operate, how to play them most efficiently, and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I could talk about this for a while, but I think, the best way to get a feel for the game is to actually play it. So, yeah, go out there, try a couple games of Heroes. You're going to be pretty confused if it's your first game or two, but, you'll get the hang of it. So, yeah, have fun. Class dismissed.